Hi, this is Cameron back again with a new feature called It's a Small World Music. This is the first one, and I'm going to feature the music of Afghanistan. The reason I decided to do this video series is because I have a very large world music collection, especially on CD. I have a few on LP, but my collection of CD probably reaches well over 1,000, and I have a representation of music from 183 out of the 193 countries of the UN. Actually, 185 out of the 193 of the UN. So to get started, here's a map of Afghanistan. And as you can see, Afghanistan is located in South Asia and Central Asia. It has Iran to its west, Pakistan to its south and east. To the north is located Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, and there's a small part of the country that borders on China to the northeast. The population of Afghanistan is 32 million and the capital is Kabul. The area is 252,000 square miles or 652,000 square kilometers. It's strategically located along the Silk Route connecting Middle East and Asia. So throughout history, the music of Afghanistan has been influenced largely by outsiders, especially Iran, Pakistan, and India. And the music is also influenced by various ethnic groups that make up Afghanistan. The two largest ethnic groups are the Pashtuns, who make up 42% of the population, and the Tajiks, who make up 27%. The two official languages of the country are Pashto, obviously spoken by the Pashtuns, and Dari, which is an Afghan Persian, and I should note that many people are bilingual. So these are the languages of the music of Afghanistan. And one thing that unites the people, all the different diverse peoples of Afghanistan, is their Islamic faith, and this is largely featured in much of their music. Now, the music of Afghanistan can be categorized in different ways. But one way that I think is useful for understanding its music is to see the four different categories of music as being: 1, the religious music; 2, their folk and traditional music; 3, classical music; and 4, the pop or film music. Now, most of this analysis is going to refer to the period before the conflicts, starting in 1978. So the period before 1978 is largely represented in this analysis. First of all, radio broadcasting began in the 1920s in Afghanistan, but was interrupted until 1940. Radio Afghanistan plays all four categories of music. So again, that's the religious, the folk and traditional music, the classical music, and the pop and film music. And Radio Afghanistan has helped to establish the sense of national identity, including national music, what it means to play national music. So first of all, looking at the religious music, this is Sufi mystical music of Islam. It sees music positively, unlike some other traditions in Afghanistan, which see music negatively. So there's two types of religious music traditions: the Naqshbandi, which is only vocal music, and in which the singers reach trance-like states. And here, religious and vocal music is not considered music locally. So if you ask somebody from Afghanistan if religious music is music, they would say no, it's an expression of religiosity, of faith. A second type of religious music is the Christy music, which uses vocals with harmonium and tabla. So we have an interesting category of music, religious music, which most of the local people wouldn't even consider music, but outsiders would consider music. A second category of music within Afghanistan is the folk and traditional music. And again, to categorize this, we could say that this music, the folk and traditional music, is based on gender, geography, ethnicity, and language. Now, the early music is largely undocumented until the 15th century. So there aren't the records that there are in many other countries for early forms of traditional music and folk music. So looking at the folk and traditional music, based on gender, the differences are that traditionally women and men produce music separately, just like there's a separation in social life. Women's music is music sung or danced to at weddings, circumcisions, and other rituals. They play certain typically women's instruments like the frame drum, whereas men produce music publicly just like they appear socially in public, and they typically use the long-necked lute called a dutar and a drum. Now, a second way of categorizing or describing folk and traditional music is to look at geography. So, breaking up the country into different areas, we could talk about West Afghanistan, which with the big center as being Herat. The music is used for entertainment and for ritual. There are many professional musicians in Herat and the rest of West Afghanistan, and they're influenced largely by Iran, which is in which it borders on. North Afghanistan is isolated by the Hindu Kush Mountains and other ranges. The Tajiks are the main ethnic group, and northern Afghanistan music is little documented by Western ethnomusicologists. But there is a book that I've looked at which is focused specifically on northern music called Music and the Culture of North Afghanistan. Okay, in northern Afghanistan, music is used for entertainment and religious ritual functions. They use the plucked and long-necked lutes and bowed string instruments. Music deal with themes like love, war, there's women's songs, there's lullabies, there's poetical genres like qawwali and ghazal music. And it's little influenced by radio and television due to the limited range in programming. In southeastern Afghanistan, Kandahar, this is where the Pashtuns dominate. The Pashtuns have controlled the country since the founding of the state in 1747. The Pashtuns are made up of nomadic peoples, rural peasants, urban merchants, and they typically use a single melodic line which alternates with instrumental accompaniment. It's greatly related to Pashtun poetry, and it's considered, the music of southeastern Afghanistan is considered the national music. Examples of, a typical example of a band, which is now based in Switzerland, is called Ensemble Kabul. The third category of music in Afghanistan is classical music, and this is influenced by northern Indian Hindustani classical music. There's ragas using the tabla for percussion, harmonium, and Afghan classical instruments like the dutar, sitar, tambur, rubab, which is a lute-like instrument, and it's a forerunner of the Indian sarod. And finally, the fourth category of Afghan music is the popular music, which was popularized in the 1950s to 70s, largely influenced by Iranian and Pakistani film and music. There were some public female singers, but virtually no Western influence. An exception was Ahmad Zahir, who has some Western influence, especially on the look, so the clothing. Played the organ, was known as the Elvis of Afghanistan, but died a mysterious death in a vehicle accident. In the war against music, which happened in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, there's little musical production since the conflict of 1978 to 2001, and it's still limited today. So there has always existed in Afghanistan a hardline fundamentalist movement which has seen music as idolatry. The communists of 1978 to 1992 promoted workers' music, some females, sung publicly but only dealing with workers' music. In the 1980s until 1992, when they rose to power, there was a guerrilla warfare by the Mujahideen, and they didn't see music very positively either. From 1996 to 2001, the Taliban controlled Afghanistan, and they had a war against music and against musicians. They broke and burned instruments, destroyed much of the music archives and cultural artifacts. They beat and jailed musicians and tried to kill public female singers. Music, however, was kept alive in Pakistan, such as Peshawar, Karachi, Islamabad, Europe and USA, where there were large Afghan refugee populations. Now, since the end of the Taliban period, there has been some music revival, but music still has a precarious existence due to the decades-long interruption and the continued threat of conflict. Now I'm going to play a few examples of music from Afghanistan. This is on CD. Now first I'll show my CDs that I'm going to be playing. So first of all, there's Afghanistan, the traditional music of Herat. So remember, that's the West. Next is Afghanistan Rediscovered Treasures, which has a variety of music from around the country. Then there's the Afghan Ensemble, Songs from Afghanistan. And finally, the Rough Guide to the Music of Afghanistan, which has a second CD featuring the Ahmad Sham Sufi Qawwali group. So these are all quite available Afghan music collections. So I'm going to play you a little bit off of them. So first of all, from Herat, there's the Chahabar, I can't pronounce it, Chahar Baiti Kushki piece, which features a dutar. Next, I'm going to feature a three-string dutar piece. Now a Sufi song. Next, I'm going to play something off of the Afghanistan Rediscovered Treasures. So the first song on the CD, which is called Ali Delbari Kamosh, and it's a Dari love song. Finally, I'm going to play a piece by Ahmad Zahir, the Elvis of Afghanistan. Just take me a minute. So remember, he was known as the Elvis of Afghanistan, but died a mysterious death in an accident. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the first. It's a small world music video. Next, I'll feature another country that starts with the letter A, perhaps Albania. I have to do some research first. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please remember to leave your comments and please subscribe. Have a good day. Bye bye.